Hi, this is Josh with Retro TV One Tech, and today I've got something really cool to share with you. This is a PicoGUS 2.0. This is the new version of a card called the PicoGUS that actually is a modern replacement of the venerable Gravis Ultrasound sound card from the 90s and early 2000s. So this is a total replacement for this, but not just that, it's actually a replacement for lots and lots of different sound cards from the DOS era. So join me for this awesome and really fun sound-related video as we try this PicoGUS out on my Pocket 386. Now, if you didn't see the Pocket 386 video where I went over all the features of the Pocket 386, definitely check that out. I'll link it down in the description below. But the Pocket 386 is an amazing machine, and this actually works with it. So what is the PicoGUS? Well, first of all, you can see that it's an 8-bit sound card. It works in any computer with an 8 or 16-bit ISA expansion slot. And you can see in the name Pico that it actually uses a Raspberry Pi Pico to do emulation of the Gravis Ultrasound code. And so it does all this on the device. Now, this is the 2.0 version, as I said. The original version actually had a Raspberry Pi Pico mounted to the card. Now, this one has it embedded and surface mounted into the board itself, which makes it even more efficient. So that works really fantastically, and it looks amazing. The red card with the artwork on here, it's just absolutely beautiful to see these modern recreations of classic hardware. Now, the really cool thing about this is because it is emulation, some people might not like that idea, but it's basically near perfect emulation, if not perfect. But the cool thing about that is it doesn't just emulate the Raspberry Pi Pico, it'll emulate several other cards like the Soundblaster, Adlib, Creative Music System, Tandy 3-Voice, just to name a few, and more are coming all the time because it's really just able to be updated through software. So let's take a little tour of the card real quick. First of all, you do have a wavetable header if you want to add something like the Dream Blaster or something like that to it. I love how it says blinking light up here. That's kind of cool. And this up here is the DAC, the digital audio conversion circuitry that goes into the headphone jack where you can stick any stereo audio source in there or audio output in there, speakers, headphones, whatever you want. This actually is MIDI output, and so along with the card, they actually provide you with this MIDI cable. And so this plugs into a standard TRS jack, and then you've got the MIDI output. I don't have a MIDI device to test it with yet, so I won't be testing that part today, but that is an option. And you might also notice here, as you look at the back of the card, you can actually see that there is a USB-A port back here as well. And that actually is for joystick emulation. You can actually plug in a standard USB joystick, usually the X input variety of that, like what would be used on an Xbox or something like that. And it will actually emulate MS-DOS joystick compatibility. So amazing stuff on this card, and I'll show you all that here in just a bit. And then you've got jumpers to configure IRQ and DMA. So pretty amazing card, and again, it looks just fantastic. So let's get it plugged in and try it out. I should also mention there is a micro USB port down here and then the little boot select button, and so if you do need to reconfigure the firmware, if you somehow mess it up on the computer itself, you can plug this into any modern PC and you can just drag and drop the newest firmware onto it through the micro USB. So that's really, really cool that they have that functionality as well. Now, one thing I didn't get to show in much detail the last time that I showed off the Pocket 386 was the ISA expansion back here. So this is 3 ISA 8-bit expansion ports, and all you have to do is just plug these cards right into it and they work perfectly. Now, it's a little tricky getting these cards plugged into this because, as you can see, the metal bracket is already hitting the table, so I kind of have to swing the whole unit around. You can see it's plugged into the back of the computer. There's the ISA bus expansion header on the back. So this is the best way I've found, is just to kind of have it like this off the table and support the board. And there are little rubber or plastic feet on the bottom of this little ISA expansion card here, so that makes it really good that you can kind of put a little pressure on it. The only problem is the way that it's going to need to face while I use it is actually going to be that the card is backwards, so you won't be able to see it operate just because of the way that it is facing. There's a little light that blinks when it operates, so that's one unfortunate side effect of this, just because of the way the ISA is. This is pin 1 down here, and so everything has to face this direction. All right, everything's plugged in now, and in order to test this, I'm going to use these Bose speakers that I usually use next to my desktop computer. They sound pretty good, and rather than direct capture, I thought I'd just show you what it sounds like through speakers. So that'll be pretty cool to test out. So let's get the Pocket 386 fired up and ready to go. The crazy thing about the way this works is that I actually don't have to use a separate power cable for the Pocket386 right now, because the battery will power the computer and the ISA expansion. I have it all plugged in and at 100%, so just makes it pretty cool that you can use this stuff on battery, even though you really would never need to, because it's not super portable like this, but still cool that it can be expanded like this. So I'm going to boot it up and get it started here. There we go, we're at the DOS prompt. And I will show you before we continue that all the lights are on the expansion card here, and the little orange LED or amber LED there on the PicoGUS is lit as well, meaning that it does have power and is ready to go. As you can see, I've already set up my auto exec bat with the necessary Gravis Ultrasound commands here, the set ultrasound and set ultra director variables, and those are the same if you're using a real Gravis Ultrasound or the PicoGUS here, so that works the same way. But rather than using the Gravis Ultrasound initialization command, we have another utility here called PicoGUS in it that we use, and because everything's already configured correctly, if I turn this on here, it will go ahead and initialize. So you can see USB support, joystick support disabled, and I can use the switch/J to enable. Wavetable volume set to 0 because I don't have a wavetable card installed. It detects the card, all kinds of stuff there, and then also it just says it is initialized. Now I can flash a different firmware to run in a different type of card. You know, if I want to run Soundblaster, Adlib, whatever else, I can flash a different firmware to do that. But for now, let's try out some games in Gravis Ultrasound mode. Alright, so the first thing we're going to try is one of my favorite DOS games, Epic Pinball, and it's got Gravis Ultrasound support. And one of the things that Gravis Ultrasound actually does is it deals with wavetable synthesis. And so it's got samples for some of the different instruments, and it plays them back digitally so that the processor, the computer, doesn't have to do the heavy lifting on those types of samples. The card does all the hard work. So you get super, super high quality samples all run by the card, and the processor just runs the game code. So let's see how this sounds. Here we go. Wow, so clear. It's a little bass heavy with these speakers, but it's just so super clear. I'm just kind of blown away by how clear the sound is on this. Let's go ahead and play a game here. All right, let's try this. Everything is so clear. Sound effects are a little loud, but I think that's in the game settings. I tried just a second ago to make the sound effects a little softer, but it didn't really work. I'm just going to let you hear the music for a second. Yeah, so clear. So clean. It's actually cleaner than an original Gravis Ultrasound. And the reason is because the digital audio converter, the DAC, is a little bit higher quality. So that's fun. Got a high score without even trying. All right, let's try something else. Even this part, the sound is just so good. It's a lot clearer samples than on the Soundblaster version of this. Wow. Alright, we're going to go ahead and try One Must Fall. So let's do Gravis Ultrasound, and it shows stereo. You can see all the other options down there as well. The rest of it should be good. Let's give it a shot. Here we go. Wow. Lightning. That's a lot clearer sound effect than what I remember on my Soundblaster. I never had a Gravis, so this is all new to me. Wow! Oh my goodness! Listen to that! Wow! Like, that still sounds pretty good by today's standards. And this is running on a 386 SX. Normally a 386 wouldn't be able to do music this complicated, but the Gravis is handling all the heavy lifting of the music. Wow! Just so incredibly good. All right, we got to play it, obviously, but wow. All right. Choose your pilot. All right, here we go. I don't know what the controls are. Guess I'm gonna learn. It's a little slow on the 386. Not gonna lie. What if there's a graphical setting? Although apparently it's not that hard because you can just randomly kick and it just, whoa, no, just kidding. I say not that hard and I get rocked. Oh, hi. That worked. I'm not sure how I did that, but that's fine. Oh, punching is this button. Okay. Hi. Oh, that thing came out of nowhere. It's been a long time since I played this game. Robots fighting, because that's very 90s. It's a 90s thing. Finish him. Yeah, I did. How fun is that? Alright, just a little update. I looked up some settings. I turned off robot shadows and things, and that seems to have made it much more playable. Yeah, it's still a tiny bit slow. Wow, I can just go around in circles like that, but it's much, much faster. You can see it's much more responsive. Good. Yeah, I can actually play that now. Just have to turn some of the graphics stuff down to play on a 386. Nice. Awesome. Let's try a different game. Okay, I couldn't help it. I played a second fight here, and one of the things I wanted to mention before we go too far into the next game is that I wouldn't have any of these digital sound effects or anything on this Pocket 386 if it wasn't for this card. This card only has an OPL3, so it only does that Adlib style music. It only does the FM synthesis. It doesn't do anything digital. There's no DAC or anything. So doing these samples or mod files or anything like that wouldn't be possible. Even the clanking of the metal wouldn't be possible on the OPL3 that's on this card. Even the voice wouldn't be possible. So super cool to have this on this Pocket 386 and be able to play with such amazing sound. All right, next game. All right, let's try a little jazz Jackrabbit. Oh yeah, that sounds great. We're going to turn the sound effects down just a little bit. There we go. Nice. Let's do it. Yeah, it sounds really, really clear. Again, the biggest difference between this and a Soundblaster is the clarity and the quality of the sound samples. And you can tell it's plenty fast enough on the game because all the heavy lifting is left to the Gravis Ultrasound for the actual sound effects. So, and that's on medium graphics detail, but still it looks amazing. There you go. I always forget which buttons it is on the keyboard. I need my joystick plugged in. I guess I should try that here in a second. Alright, so let's try something new. We'll actually try two things at the same time here. We're going to go to our PicoGUS init utility here. And we're going to flash it with the Soundblaster and Adlib firmware. They're actually on the same firmware now, so it's pg/sb.uf2. It's going to flash the card, and it's basically going to completely change it into a Soundblaster. Right now it's a Gravis Ultrasound, and it's about to be a Soundblaster, so here we go. So now it's programming the data blocks on the card itself into Soundblaster mode, waiting for the card to reboot, and there we go. And now all I have to do is just do my set blaster command here. So there's our set blaster command. That should work perfectly. And then the other thing we're going to do is a joystick. So I've got this kind of generic Xbox style controller here, and it's just basically an X input controller. Now you can't plug just any USB joystick into this that you've got laying around. It's got to be an X input compatible joystick from what I understand from the website. We just plug that right into the USB-A port on the card itself, and then we initialize it in the little PicoGUS init utility, and it should just work. So let's try it. I don't think you even have to restart to make this work. There we go. And you can actually see the card, or the joystick is now getting power from the card itself. So that's pretty cool. But now our joystick's not active yet. It's not doing the joystick emulation yet. So we're going to go PicoGUS init /J for joystick. USB joystick support enabled. There we go. And so we're running in Soundblaster 2.0 mode on port 220, Adlib port 388. All right, so now let's try it on Commander Keen, one of my favorite games to try this stuff on. And let's see if we get Adlib sound and joystick support. All right, so the joystick support's not seeming to work right now, and it's actually just stuck. So maybe I need to reboot with all this stuff plugged in. Let's try that, because this does not seem to be happy with what's going on right now. All right, we are rebooted, and we're going to try this one more time. We're going to initialize the joystick and the Soundblaster at the same time. So this should emulate a joystick in MS-DOS mode. So we'll try that, and if that doesn't actually work, then we'll just go ahead and try it without the joystick. It could be a joystick issue, so I'm not really sure. So let's load up Commander Keen again here. Yeah, it seems to be doing the same thing. And so it actually hard locked here earlier. All right, we will try it again without the joystick. All right, I kept the joystick support disabled this time. Let's just see if the Adlib support works. Maybe that should teach me to, yep, there we go. That should teach me to try two things at the same time. It is detecting the Soundblaster Adlib, so that's fine. All right, so let's see if we can get the Soundblaster Adlib sound to work. Now, of course, on this game, it's really just Adlib, so. Oh yeah, perfect. Listen to that. Unmistakably good. All right, let's go into the level. Oops, I accidentally hit the pause button. It's right by the Alt button, so that's kind of fun. I forgot that that was there. So this is why I need the joystick to work. But yeah, as far as I can tell, the emulation for Adlib is perfect. That's fantastic. Just a couple minutes ago, this card was a Gravis Ultrasound, and now it's a Soundblaster Adlib, and I didn't change the card at all. It's magic! Gotta love the happy bouncy ball guy, which somebody said looks like Bob the Tomato. Yeah, he kind of does. Way before Bob, though. Just as I said the emulation was perfect, that part was not perfect there, but the rest of it sounds great. Alright, so I've been playing around with this for a while. I've tried 3 different joysticks besides this one, and none of them work. So I may just not have the right joystick, or I need to read up a little more and do some troubleshooting. But for now, I'm just going to test the sound. But either way, it should work with the joystick. Maybe they need to iron out some bugs or something. I'm sure that's not easy getting USB joystick to work in DOS, or maybe it just really requires a specific type of joystick that I don't have. But it's not locking up on Commander Keen now when I use it. I did try plugging in the Pocket386 just to give it more power. I thought, well, maybe it doesn't have enough power to support the joystick, so I plugged in the computer just to make sure it had, again, ample power. But no go, no dice, so that's all right. So we are still in Soundblaster mode. Let's try a little test drive 3 and just sample some music here. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And luckily I actually did buy a joystick card that'll work with this computer too, just a standard game port card, so I really don't need the PicoGUS to do joystick. But it would just be cool if it did. Kind of makes it an all-in-one solution for gaming on your computer. Either way, listen to that. Yep, sounds fantastic. Yeah, no issues there at all. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, now we're doing it. See, I can actually control it. When we're at this lower speed on this 386, I can actually control the game. It's not running too fast, so that sounds fantastic. Yeah, I don't know how you're still keeping up with me. I'm going over 200. There we go. No more radar beeps. Anyway, this game's working fantastically. There's another police officer. They were trying to get me and I ran into him. Game over. Just kidding. All right, let's try something else. All right, let's try Doom on Soundblaster mode. So we go Soundblaster 220. That'll work. And then let's see, Soundblaster RQ5, DMA1, number of digital channels. Sure, let's just do them all. All right, here we go. So normally when I run this game on this Pocket 386, it doesn't work very well because there's no digital sound because it's only OPL3 on here. But now we've got full Soundblaster support. So that's pretty cool. Let's get this loaded up. There goes that FM synth. Nice. Yep, works perfectly. All right, I'm actually going to try a little smaller screen to get a little bit better and get graphic detail low, and that way the game will run a little bit faster. So here we go. Let's give this a shot. The 386 is not great on Doom, but should work now. Oh yeah, that's not bad at all actually. The frame rate's a little slow still, but shrink the screen a little bit and it works fine. Yep. Works great as I run into barrels and stuff. Alright, I want to try the venerable Adlib Jukebox and just test the Adlib sound a little bit more on this. Those CGA graphics, that is so amazing. Alright, let's try Highways here. Oh yeah, sounds perfect. Again, just a few minutes ago this was a Gravis Ultrasound, now it's a perfect Adlib card. I was going to show you the light blinking, but I guess it doesn't blink in this mode. I'm not sure. Either way, it's working. All right, let's try a little spy music. So much fun. And elect rock is always fun. Yeah. So again, working perfectly. Awesome. So let's try a little listening experiment. I've got the PicoGUS set on Soundblaster mode, and we're going to use Fast Tracker 2 to play some mod files. First of all, we'll start at 16,000 Hertz for the quality sample rate, and let's just see how that sounds. So it sounds pretty good overall. You can hear a little bit of quality loss in there, but not bad. Alright, so that sounds pretty good. But let's try it in Gravis Ultrasound mode, see how that sounds. So let's flash the firmware back to Gravis Ultrasound mode. This just absolutely blows my mind. I don't even have to restart the computer, and I've got a different sound card. I do have to run this one more time just to initialize it, and then it's ready to go. Alright, I've got Fast Tracker 2 configured for Gravis Ultrasound at the maximum quality. That's 44 kilohertz, amazing quality, much bigger than, of course, 16. And much better, much more clear. So let's try this. I think you're going to be blown away by the difference. Wow. It's the exact same file, exact same song, and it sounds completely different, so much more clear. It's also in stereo too. But there's no noise at all. It's just super, super clear. Here we go. Here's the drum part. Wow. I am just blown away by that. Alright, so we're going to try some games in Gameblaster mode. And I never had a Gameblaster card, and this is what basically came before Soundblaster for Creative Labs. So it's a whole different sound architecture, whole different chips, all kinds of things. I read that it was kind of like a Tandy 3 voice on steroids, so it's basically like the same type of chips, but more voices. So I don't know if that's correct or not, let me know in the comments, but either way, we're going to flash this over to Gameblaster mode and see if we can get it to work on some games. So we're going to try Monkey Island, and one of the things I learned after doing some research on this is actually you have to put a G after that for Gameblaster, so monkey and then space and then G. So let's see if this actually works. Ah, it does. Excellent. It's even in stereo. You guys hear the stereo separation there? It's pretty cool. That's such a neat sound. Sounds like some early arcade machines too. I think they did use it on some. Wow. Alright, I just changed back to Soundblaster mode, so we're going to try the same game, Monkey Island, in Soundblaster mode, and you should be able to hear a big difference between the way it handles Soundblaster / Adlib and Gameblaster. Already a different sound. It's both FM synth, but number one, it's not stereo, and the sound effects are totally different. Yeah, so you can hear it's totally the same song, just a completely different interpretation of it. It's pretty cool how these DOS sound cards do that. It's like reading a piece of sheet music in a completely different way. Alright, so we're going to try this in Tandy mode. Now, this mode isn't as crucial for me because I actually have a real Tandy 1000, as you can see here, so I can get Tandy 1000 sound on real hardware, but it'll be cool just to try it on this card to see what differences it has, if any. So here we go, let's flash it over into Tandy mode. And actually I have to use a special driver to make this work, so I'll get that set up and we'll get started. Alright, so there's a driver called tndy.com. Let's just see if this works. Okay, I got to figure out the right ports. It looks like it did it. Okay, that's a lot of options. Alright, we're going to try Monkey Island again and just see if it picks up the fact that we're running a Tandy sound card now. It's just so cool we can swap cards on the fly here. I can't get over that. Alright, let's just try it, see what happens. Nope, no sound. So that didn't work on this one. We'll have to try a different game. Well, that's too bad. I'll look into this and get back. And now I'm on PC speaker sound. It tried. Ah, okay. Apparently it has these switches for Tandy sound as well. Let's try that. Fingers crossed. Looks like no luck. I might not have gotten the driver configured properly. Okay, so after several minutes, I finally got Tandy sound working. So one of the things, as I was reading more online, you have to disable EMM386. Because I guess it has to put the processor into protected mode or something. I'm not exactly sure. But either way, you have to disable EMM386 in your config sys. and then it will work. And then I was able to redirect the ports the way it needed to be. I also didn't have the syntax correct. I had to type out the exact addresses where it needed to go. So I had to go 0C0 to 20H or something like that. Either way, it works now on Monkey Island, so definitely be sure to compare back and forth between the Soundblaster version, the Gameblaster version, and now the Tandy version. So let me load this up here. Now there's no sound at the beginning, so it's kind of interesting. Gameblaster and Soundblaster actually had sound here, but it starts right after this little intro thing, and then you'll hear the awesome Tandy 3-voice sound just like on my computer. So there we go. That works, yay! And you can tell it's only 3 voices because there's a lot of things missing from the other versions, but it still sounds pretty good. Try a Space Quest 3 and see if that works. Yes, nice! So it's kind of missing the percussion from the Adlib and Soundblaster version, as well as the MT32 version, but it works. There we go, nice. So just to compare the Tandy sound on the PicoGUS and the Tandy sound on an actual Tandy 1000, let's check out Space Quest 3 on the Tandy 1000 so you can hear the difference. And all that's coming out of just one little speaker right there, so it's not quite as loud, but it honestly sounds exactly the same. That's what's interesting. So obviously this is the original, but the PicoGUS sounds exactly the same. So cool. So back where we started on Epic Pinball, I really think this PicoGUS 2 is an incredible little card. I hope eventually I can get a joystick that's compatible. That's really the only thing I didn't get working. It took a little trial and error, but that's the fun part about these projects. You have to tinker around with it a little bit to get it to work, but I mean, it's just so clear and so amazing. I just can't get over how clear the sound is. And on a 386 like this, that type of sound shouldn't even be possible, because it would have to all be done by the processor itself. It's just so incredible. Alright, well that's all for now for this PicoGUS 2.0 on the Pocket386 video. We hope you enjoyed this. A lot of cool sound. DOS sound cards are just so amazing, and the fact that this thing can just convert back and forth between different sound cards on the fly is just absolutely unbelievable. So big shout out to Ian Scott, the developer of the PicoGUS. What a cool project and a labor of love for sure. I'll put the link in the description if you want to pick one up. There are a couple different shops you can pick them up, and they're like $55, super reasonable for a project like this, and just something super cool to play around with if you have any kind of a system with an 8-bit ISA slot, like I do here on the Pocket386. So definitely go check that out if you get a chance. And as I'm saying this, I'm noticing that little blinking light that I couldn't get to blink earlier is actually blinking. So it may only do that when it's in Gravis mode, or maybe when it's accessing the DAC. I have no idea, but either way, I'll show that here real quick. There it is, blinking away. That's pretty cool. Alright, so thanks again for watching. Definitely leave a comment down below if you think this is a project you'd be interested in, or if you have any questions or anything like that. I definitely had to go through some trial and error configuring this. If you need any help, definitely leave a comment and I'll try and do the best I can. But thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. So for now, enjoy that tech and keep it retro.